In this series, we'll be looking at living with depression and anxiety disorders. There'll be mention of suicide, so listener discretion is advised. The aim of these podcasts is to remind you that there is light at the end of the tunnel. There is hope, and it's possible to make a full recovery and live a good life, wherever you are on your journey.
Hello, I'm Christine Webber. Welcome to another of our recovery podcasts, and today I'm speaking to my friend Helen McDermott about her own issues with mental health. So, I've known you 40 years, and I do know that you have struggled with lots of low mood and stress and various things, and sometimes obviously having to do that very much in the full glare of publicity. So how have you coped with that?
Well, it's an interesting thing about depression is that, sometimes people will say to you, or you see in magazines, what's the thing you remember as a child? The first thing you remember as a child. The first thing I remember as a child is going in a coal hole. My parents had, not that they locked me in there, but I went in there, in this coal hole, crying. And that's my first memory of childhood. Not because I knew why I was crying, but I just used to cry.
Yes.
And if
so you weren't crying because they'd taken your toys away?
No, nothing at all.
No, you were just crying because you felt miserable.
Overwhelming sadness, of which I didn't know why.
No.
And I remember also my music played a huge part. My grandmother, if they put music on, I would start crying.
Yeah.
I still find music very difficult, very moving.
Yeah.
So there was always this sort of feeling of not really knowing why I was miserable, but I just was.
So do you think that underlying your moods throughout your life, really, you've struggled to sort of keep that sense of misery or not being quite right or whatever at bay? It's just been a constant struggle.
It's been yes. I've kept it at bay up to a point, but then it got to the stage where I was in my 20s, I think it was, where and I think it was a combination of things. My father died, and that was hugely difficult. I found lots of other things going on, and I did have a complete breakdown.
Yes.
I was angry at that time.
Yes.
We talked about stresses of if you like, I was delighted to get the job.
Of course.
But of course, when you're on there, you've got
day
to look
in,
like
day
this,
out, you've got to always be on top of it.
You've got to be funny,
Yeah.
as people used to, I used to say I was funny.
Yes.
I didn't feel very funny, but
No.
which I think was a bit of a front as well.
Yeah.
But it just got to the stage where I just could not cope any longer.
No.
But I didn't really know that I couldn't cope any longer till I found myself not able to get out of a seat. And people talk about rocking backwards and forwards, which I used to think, but I was. And so I ended up going to a hospital. It's after a long time, really. I saw various psychiatrists, and it ended up that actually I needed to go to hospital.
Yeah.
So I went to St Andrew's Hospital in Northamptonshire. But I thought, like a lot of people who go there, I thought, I don't need to be here. There's nothing wrong with me.
No, I think that's one of the things about mental health issues, that very often when somebody finally takes it seriously, you almost feel a bit of a fraud. You think, oh, well, it's not me. I'm pleased that they've taken it seriously, but really, I'm fine.
Yes.
I can always get myself out of this, don't you? But you couldn't. And I would wind the clock back a bit earlier to maybe 3 months before you're in hospital. And I think I'd left Anglia by then, but I was visiting. And I met up with you in the dressing room that we'd always shared. And you were just in floods of tears, and you were supposed to be presenting the programme.
Yeah.
And I said to you, you can't present the programme. And you're going, yes, I can,
Yeah.
And I said, I don't think you can. And I think that it just needed a few people to sort of say to you, this isn't, you're now not coping. And it's hard to accept that. I think a lot of people find that hard, but particularly when you're one of these people that you're up and people would look at you and think, she's got everything I could perfectly, I would wish for, and you feel guilty then, don't you?
Oh yeah, you were a great help, I have to say, so thank you. But I think that is the thing, that you feel very guilty about it, because on the surface, I had nothing to complain about.
No.
I had a good job, I had a good relationship. Nothing wrong with my family. There was but that's not the thing with depression. And but and for some reason I had gone so down, and because I hadn't taken any medication or anything at that time, because you just think I should be dealing with this, you know. And I am also very not pushy, I probably am pushy, but somebody who has to be top of everything. I have to be first in everything. I always touch.
Well, that kind of perfectionistic thing.
Is the word. Yeah.
Of course, those people that have it are reluctant to lose it often, because to some degree it works for them. It gets them a long way. Because they've got that drive, you know, they are top of the class at this, or better than other people at that, and that drive takes them there. But the downside to that is when it's sort of like, I can't do that unless I'm the best at it.
Yeah.
Then you're in real trouble, aren't you?
And that's, I think, what happened to a certain extent. I think it was just a combination of lots of things, but I'd always been, I can remember at school, I was always top of the class. And then I came to about the age of 13 or 14, when I suddenly wasn't anymore. And so you're a disappointment to people, because they say, oh, what's happened to her? You know, so this sort of perfectionism that you had, which is always there. I mean, if I go running, I did the London Marathon and couldn't understand why I didn't win it. You know, I mean, I was only 4 hours. Well, I was good, but I didn't win it. And swimming, I'm a very competitive person.
I have noticed that.
I know, which is ridiculous. There's no need to be, but for some reason that is in part of my makeup, which does, as you quite rightly said, it helps in some respects because I can do things. But in other respects, there's this awful feeling of inadequacy.
Or failure.
And therefore it stops you sometimes doing things. But I think what actually has helped, several things help, as you get older, I think that definitely helps.
Yeah.
My mother, who had terrible depression, tried to kill herself, as indeed I did. She, when she got into her 80s, she was fine, because she said it burnt itself out. So I said, oh great, thanks very much. That's a lovely thing to look forward to then, isn't it? But I do understand that, because there is this sort of thing about when you are pessimistic and depressed about things, you do feel that everybody's having a great time. And you're not. And why am I not having a great time? I mean, I don't know whether anybody watching this feels the same way, but I find spring really difficult.
Yes.
Because where people are going, oh, isn't it lovely? All the flowers are growing. Look how lovely, light nights. I think, oh no, because this is a time when I think I should be doing things. Although I can appreciate it's a nice time of year. The great thing about when it's miserable and it gets dark at 4 o'clock is that you can close the door, close the curtains. I mean,
so it kind of gives you permission to
do nothing.
Hibernate.
Yes. Whereas spring, everybody's going, oh, marvellous, I'm going out, I'm going to go for a walk, and isn't it? And I think, oh no, that makes
Is it also because your birthday's in the spring?
But do you think that makes a difference?
Do you think you
I'm miserable because it's my birthday?
Well, or that it's the passage of time, and you think, oh, it's another year gone.
No, I'm just quite glad when years go, because sometimes I just think I just want to get all the years out of the way. I mean, this is the thing. It sounds a bit dramatic, but I think it's constantly there for me.
Well, I would agree with you. I mean, I've known you for a very long time.
That.
No, but I mean, it's not like it's obvious all the time, but clearly you start at a level that is harder for you to kind of elevate than is true of a lot of people. I would say that.
Would you? Yeah.
I would say that.
Well, I do a lot of things to... This is what I was talking about earlier. How do you deal with it? Well, in my case, exercise helps a lot. I mean, even when I was in the hospital, the mental hospital, I went running. I'd run and cry because I made myself... Because I do think that you do have to take as much control as you can. I appreciate it's not easy, because when you're that low, you can't make yourself do anything. That's where I think medication, and this is only as it worked for me, can lift you up enough to then start thinking, what can I do to help myself?
I would agree with that. I mean, I would agree that for a lot of people, I mean, obviously if people have got psychosis, then they're probably going to need to be on medication all the time.
Well, I am actually. I'm not psychosis.
No.
I mean, I just think...
But I think there are other people that are very depressed and wouldn't need to be on it long term. But when it gets to that point where they cannot put one foot in front of the other, then I think there is a case for medication to bring you up to a level where then things like CBT or whatever you're offered can actually help.
Exactly.
But because it's probably not going to help when you're that low.
No, and I think you were right, because we've talked about this in another of these podcasts, that having therapy for which, and I've been through quite a lot of people.
You have.
Many of them have given up, actually. Since they've seen me.
They say, I was fine until I saw Helen
her.
McDermott.
Yeah. Exactly. But I think the cognitive therapy, much as I don't really like that term, I don't.
Well, I'm so sorry. We'll change that.
Sorry,
for you.
well, no, but I just sort of think it's a bit worthy, And what it basically means is that you kind of have to deal with it yourself. You think about it, don't you? You've got to.
Well, I think the essence of cognitive behaviour therapy really is that it's a two-pronged approach. In other words, you're looking at how you think and how you behave, and how you behave influences how you think, and how you think influences how you behave. So it's very important to look at both those things. Now, so you would take, for example, a positive behavioural technique, running or exercise, which you now know then influences your mood.
Yes.
But equally, you might find that somebody will say, if I wait until I feel well enough to run, I'll never want to run. So they will process this cognitively and go, I feel terrible, but I'm going to give the behaviour side of things a chance, and then they might go running. So I think you would run without thinking about it very much, but other people might take some time to think, well, I'll take up tennis or I'll take up ballet.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
it's a good
but I mean, the physiological thing is that by doing exercise, you do increase the number of these things, feel-good chemicals called endorphins, in your bloodstream. And that actually makes you, even if you don't believe it's going to, it does make you feel better because it's in your bloodstream and that's what they're there for.
That's a very good point when you said even if you don't believe it. Because I think that when I was in the hospital, sorry to keep referring to it, but there was one of the teachers there. They were very nice people, but we would sit in the class and she'd say, oh, don't think what a cloudy day it is. Just think, the sun will come out soon. You know, which fair enough. And I said, I could say that to you till I'm blue in the face. Or yellow in the face if it's the sun. But I won't believe it. But if you want me to say that, I will. And that's that's the interesting thing when you're saying about one of the effects of running or any kind of exercise is that despite yourself, you feel better. And I think this is why I make myself do it, because I would do anything not to feel better. I actually quite like being miserable. And if somebody would say to me, oh, you seem better.
You think really?
Well, it annoys me really, because I think I'm not actually. No, underneath it all I'm
Unless
not.
I'm
Although
not.
I am.
Yes.
I am better.
I think that's very interesting.
And
And in the podcast where you and I discussed, my practice and various other things, I think we touched on this. It's interesting, isn't it, that there is a sort of comfort zone about being depressed, even though it's very uncomfortable. Because I think what it is sometimes, and I think I even had this myself at one time, you think, if this is always going to happen to me, is it much point jumping through hoops to feel better? Because how long have I got then at feeling better before it all happens again? So mightn't it just be better to just settle for it? And I think that is very negative, but I think at the same time it's hugely understandable. And I've certainly had patients who've said to me, they're just a little bit low, and they actually make it worse by going, oh my God, Christine, tell me I won't go back down to that again. I cannot bear the thought that I'm going to be as bad as that again. And actually, they're just having a slightly worse day, but they're making it much worse by assuming they're on the way right down to the depths of where they were before, which very often they're not. So that anxiety about, oh no, I can't go back there. There is something about thinking, well, can I be bothered to try and get out of there? Because if it just happens again, what's the point?
That's absolutely so true, and I think this is where talking does help. Although I used to get really annoyed by psychotherapists, they used to irritate me. But I'm sure they're used to that. Not that you do.
No.
But
you never paid me, so perhaps you were irritated at the ones you paid.
Perhaps you were irritated by me.
No.
No, I think I don't know what it was really, because I used to think if they sat there and not said anything. And I thought, I know why you're sitting there not saying anything. Because you want me to talk, which I can endlessly.
Well, and I think a lot of people, when they go to see somebody, whether they're paying for them or whether they're in the NHS, there's part of them thinking, well, it's all right for you. You know, I think you used to go to somebody and you used to say, annoys me, she's got this lovely house. Because
Yes,
I think you used to
true.
think that you were sort of contributing to her
Which I
living in
was,
this-
obviously.
which you were.
No, but
yeah.
I mean, I think I felt sorry for them really, because I thought, having to deal with me. But I think, we're sort of running out of time now a bit. But I think one of the things that people say to me, how do you deal with it? I think that one of the things that a cognitive therapist did say to me, and it might well have been you, I can't remember, was that don't expect to be happy all the time.
Yeah.
This
That's
is the-
unrealistic, isn't
Well,
it?
it is,
Yeah.
and I thought that was actually got me off the hook.
Yeah.
Because one of the things about happiness is that what is it anyway? We could go on endlessly
Yeah.
about this, but you don't expect to be happy all the time. And even if you're a depressed person, you take tablets and you feel better, you're still going to feel low highs and low. I mean, in life you're going to feel highs
Sure.
and lows.
And
People
you
don't
may
go-
feel much lower than most people.
Yes.
And indeed, a lot of people that go very depressed also experience highs that other people don't have.
which
You
is
know.
quite nice. And
Yeah,
in some
yeah.
ways I miss that.
Yeah,
However,
yeah.
I think this thing of getting myself off the hook of not having to be happy.
Yeah. It's
Is-
a bit, I
is
think,
an
and
interesting
particularly
one.
for somebody
Yeah.
who is prone to depression, I think that's good. And I think a better way of looking at it, because as you say, what is happy? You know, sometimes people have unrealistic expectations
Yes.
of happiness and they want to feel like, yeah,
Yes.
my team just scored. They want to feel that all the time.
Yes.
Well, they'd be a complete pain in the neck for a start, but also it's not realistic.
No.
I think a more realistic thing is to be able to go, do you know, I'm okay. That's all you've got to aim for. And that happens with self-esteem, depression, everything else. You don't have to be better, you don't have to be brilliant, you just have to, if you can look yourself in the eye and go, do you know, I'm okay, that'll do.
Do you know, I think that's a brilliant way to end it. I almost feel tearful. Thank you. That's great. If you'd like to get in touch or need more information about mental health services in your area, then you can contact Equal Lives online or over the phone. If you're in crisis and need urgent help, then call NHS 111 or the Samaritans on 116 123.